So we will upload this notes for today so that later I don't forget. Okay. We are good to go. So, so we have discussed till now turbojet engines. So you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have discussed till now turbojet engines and what are the new things in turbojet engines as compared to industrial gas turbines. So the two main things are the diffuser and the nozzle. And for the diffuser, we have seen how to take into account the inefficiency in the diffuser in terms of either RAM efficiency or isentropic efficiency of the diffuser. And for the nozzle also, we have seen two situations may arise in the nozzle. One is that the nozzle is not choked. In that case, the exit pressure in the nozzle is equal to the atmospheric pressure. The other situation may arise that the nozzle is choked. In that case, the exit pressure is higher than the atmospheric pressure and the exit velocity is equal to the sonic velocity. In the unchoked condition, the exit velocity is less than the sonic velocity. Okay. Considering that the nozzle is convergent nozzle in all these cases, which is the common type of nozzle that is used for most of the aircraft. And we have discussed why this is the case because of say design difficulties in changing the throat area for convergent divergent nozzle. Convergent divergent nozzles are very rarely used, not used at all. Okay, so only convergent type of nozzles are used even for supersonic aircraft, where the throat area can be changed to cater to the change in mass flow rate. And throat area can be changed by using overlapping flaps. So you can understand that, say, if you have a circular duct with say 10 overlapping flaps, you can change the amount of overlap to narrow down this uh, exit area. So similarly, different types of designs are there for different aircrafts. Convergent divergence nozzles are used for rocket applications and control the mass flow rate because both the oxidizer and the fuel flow comes from the storage tank itself. So the mass flow rate can be controlled. It does not depend on the vehicle speed. So it does not depend on the speed of the rocket. But for aircraft engine, the mass flow rate of air through the engine depends on the speed of the aircraft. So it cannot be controlled. I've shown also some examples, like some pictures in the previous class directly from Google, how the convergent divergent nozzle looks like, for example, for a space shuttle, and how normal typical convergent nozzle looks like. So what we are going to do today is we are going to go through a problem on the design aspect of this turbojet engine. So for all these different types of engine, turbojet, turbofan and turboprop and ramjet, uh, we will go through, like, we'll cover the basics and solve a design problem. It's an elaborate design problem where all the aspects are covered. Again, another topic, again one design problem. Okay. Before going to that, if you remember the previous class, at the end I have just given a two-line problem just so that you can practice. Okay. So the problem was such that considering a convergent nozzle, for a convergent nozzle, the inlet pressure was given as 1.2 atmospheric pressure. The inlet temperature, stagnation temperature was 800 Kelvin. The ambient temperature was 230 Kelvin. The ambient pressure was 0.2 atmospheric pressure. And the efficiency of the nozzle was 0.9. So we needed to find out what is the exit pressure of the nozzle. Okay. So have you done that problem? This is just a 2-3 line problem. Have you done it? What is the answer? Has anyone done this? Because otherwise, if you don't practice, you won't be able to. This material will not uh, be clear for you. unless you solve this type of problem. If you just wait for the end semester exam, then you will not be able to solve different types of problems unless you exactly know what is happening in this situation. Means how the nozzle behaves, what is the behavior of the nozzle in this situation. So has anyone done this problem? What is the answer for this? No one has tried. How will you learn the topic if you are just sitting down here and not solving any problems? Because in the class we have very limited time, so we cannot solve many problems. I will give you assignment problems obviously, but still you need to solve extra problems also. So let me show you the solution. Okay, in this case, initially I thought that I will just give the answer, but later I thought that let me just, because this is the first case for the nozzle, let me go through the solution itself. Okay, instead of giving the answer. Can you still see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you should practice this type of problems whenever I give some problems. Okay, so first thing what we need to do is draw the TS diagram, because that clarifies everything what is happening. So our inlet condition is 04. Okay, stagnation pressure and temperature T04 and P04. This is the constant pressure line P04 given by the blue line in the TS diagram, and inlet temperature is T04. Okay, on that constant pressure line. So wherever T04 intersects the constant pressure line P04. Now because the nozzle is not isentropic, because the efficiency is not 1, it is not isentropic. So its efficiency is less than 1 means isentropic process. So as a result, it deviates from the isentropic process and follows this path and ends at some point 5. Okay, so the temperature here is T5, pressure here is P5. This is the actual exit temperature and pressure from the nozzle. Okay, actual static temperature and static pressure. Based on our discussion in the previous class, we have discussed thoroughly in the previous class and previous to previous class that the stagnation temperature at this point still remains same, because there is no change in stagnation temperature in the nozzle, and you can easily prove it because it is based on first law of thermodynamics. So the in the absence of any heat transfer and work transfer, first law of thermodynamics tells that the stagnation enthalpy in a process will remain constant. So the stagnation enthalpy here remains constant, and H05 is equal to H04. If we assume that Cp is also constant, so we can say that T05 is equal to T04. Okay. So this is the extension of the same constant temperature line. Now, by definition of isentropic efficiency, in the previous class we have defined this 5s point to be an extension of this isentropic process where it means the constant pressure line P5. What is the constant pressure line P5? It is the pressure that exists at the exit of the nozzle P5. So if you draw the constant pressure line and the isentropic line like intersects it somewhere, that point we are going to call as T5s. It is not the, this you have to be very clear about this point. It is not the exit pressure of an isentropic nozzle for the same inlet condition. It is a hypothetical point which corresponds to the pressure P5 if the process was isentropic, but it is not equal to the exit condition for an isentropic nozzle for the same inlet condition. What will be the exit condition of an isentropic nozzle for the same inlet condition?
It will be on that red line.
It will be on the red line, correct. It will be on the red line. Okay. So temperature will be same, T5. So on the red line, wherever this temperature T5 intersects, that point will be the point, and the pressure will be different. Pressure will be higher. So because there is pressure loss, we are going to a lower pressure to get the same velocity, the sonic velocity. The sonic velocity will remain same, whether it is on the red line or in the blue line. It is root over gamma RT, and because T is same, gamma and R obviously are same. So sonic velocity is same at both points. However, the pressure loss is more in the case of non-isentropic nozzle. The pressure drop is more, okay, because of frictional losses. But the temperature drop is not more, because whatever frictional losses are there still manifest itself as temperature, because there is nowhere for that energy to go. Correct? So I hope this is very clear to everyone, because this type of problems may be very common, okay, in the exam or in any other. If I take a class test. So we will start the problem assuming that the nozzle is choked. Okay, any of these problems of this type, unless it is mentioned whether the nozzle is not choked or choked, we will assume that the nozzle is choked. And later we will verify whether our assumption was correct or not. So let us assume that the nozzle is choked. T05 is equal to T04 for an adiabatic nozzle. We have already discussed. So T05 is equal to 800 Kelvin. Okay. So by definition, or by, like we have done the analysis previously, the reaction and static temperature for Mach number equal to 1 is given by T05 by T5 is equal to gamma plus 1 by 2. This we have derived multiple times in the previous classes. Okay. In general, the relation is 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 m square, because m is 1 here. You get 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2, which is gamma plus 1 by 2. Okay. So if we consider, it is not mentioned what is the gamma value. If we consider that this is an exhaust gas, the nozzle caters to exhaust gas of a turbine. Just a minute. In that case, gamma g is equal to 1.333, and you can find what is the value of T5, because T05 is already 800 Kelvin. T5 is 685.8123 Kelvin. Okay. So this we have already calculated now. So now what we are going to do, we want to find the pressure P5, and pressure can be only obtained by using the isentropic relation, because P04 is known. So P04 by P5 is equal to T04 by T5s to the power gamma by gamma minus 1. Okay. So for this we need to find out what is T5s point. So by definition of isentropic efficiency of nozzle, eta n is equal to T04 minus T5, means this distance, by T04 minus T5s. Okay. So here T04 and T5 are known, and eta n also is given as 0.9. So you can get T5s to be 673.1247. Obviously T5s will be lower than T5. You can see from the diagram, because T5 is this point or this point, and T5s is lower. Okay, so it is 673.1247 Kelvin. So now we can just use the isentropic relation. This is the same problem I have opened in another page, so that you can see the diagram. Using the isentropic relation between 04 and 5s, you get P5 is equal to 0.6011 atmospheric pressure. Okay. So P04 was given to us 1.2. So from that we have found P5 as 0.6011 atmospheric pressure. Okay. Now inlet or ambient pressure is given as 0.2 atmospheric pressure. It means that our calculated pressure P5 is greater than the ambient pressure, which means that our initial assumption of choked nozzle is correct. If we calculate P5 and if it comes up as say 0.15 atmospheric pressure, then what should have we done? Say we have calculated, some other values are given. After calculation of P5 here, I get the value P5 is equal to 0.15 atmospheric pressure.
Then nozzle is not choked.
Nozzle is not choked. So P5 is equal to PA in that case. So P5 should not be 0.15 atmospheric pressure. P5 should be equal to 0.2 atmospheric pressure, right? Accordingly, we can just write what is the exit pressure. Velocity also, if here the problem does not ask for the velocity, but it can be calculated accordingly. But if we find that P5 is equal to 0.15 or anything less than this 0.2 atmospheric pressure, actual case we have to then make P5 equal to PA. Okay, because the nozzle is not choked, it has to be equal to atmospheric pressure, because our initial assumption is incorrect in that case. Okay, so basically what we are doing is we are finding the critical pressure. If the critical pressure is higher than the atmospheric pressure, then the nozzle is choked. If the critical pressure is lower than the atmospheric pressure, then the nozzle is not choked. So here the critical pressure is higher than the atmospheric pressure, so nozzle is choked. So our calculation tells us that the exit pressure of the nozzle is 0.6011 atmospheric pressure. Okay. Is there in the notes? You can, but again, just by looking at this calculation, you won't understand anything. Means you will understand, but you won't absorb anything. You have to solve these problems on your own and then look at the solution. Even for the problems that I am going to give, I am going to give you 5 problem sets. Because we are lagging still, I am not giving any of the problem sets, but I will give you on turbojet, turbofan engines, then on ramjet engines and turboprop, then on compressors and on turbines. So all these problem sets will have 4 or 5 problems, each of the problem sets. So around say 20 problems. And then there are books also you can solve. But if you just look at this solution, then although you will understand, you will not be able to absorb the material. So you have to absorb it from fundamental perspective. It is very important. Okay. So you try to solve it on your own. Now, because you have looked at this solution, it looks very easy to you. But many students get confused when they try to solve this problem. If we assume that air is flowing through the nozzle instead of combustion products, then gamma is equal to 1.4. In that case, the result is, our answer is 0.5860 atmospheric pressure. Okay, for P5. In that case, also nozzle is choked and it is equal to 0.5860 atmospheric pressure. So this is just a very minor problem. You can consider very small problem, like a very small part of a problem. So what we are going to do today, any questions on this, or is it clear to everyone? I have tried to go through as slowly as possible through this part, so that you have a clear understanding, so that when we speed up for other types of engines, you know how to solve this, because these same things will be there for turbofan or any other engines. So we are not going to spend the time again just for deriving these things. We will just jump into actual problems for turbofans and other types of engines after brief introductions. Any questions? I hope it is clear to everyone in that case. There are no questions. So the second problem is actually an elaborate problem, and this type of problems are known as design point calculation. Okay. So what is done is that in the next class we are going to discuss the performance parameters or performance characteristics of turbojet engine. Okay. So these performance characteristics actually relate different important variables, like performance variables with design parameters, like say turbine inlet temperature or compressor pressure ratio, things like that, with the performance parameters such as so what are the performance parameters? Can anyone say for turbojet engines? What are the performance parameters? Like what should we use for measuring the performance of a turbojet engine?
Like pressure ratio and maximum
These are
temperature.
no, these are not performance parameters. These are design parameters, means input parameters. Performance input parameters means
So the
what you are
efficiencies.
specifying while calculating. Performance parameter means how you actually, like how you quantify the performance of the engine, whether the engine is good or not. Like for example, for a air conditioner or a refrigerator, the performance parameter is COP.
COP.
Okay. So for a IC engine, the performance parameter is thermal efficiency. So in this case, what are the performance parameters that we should consider?
Thrust, sir, thrust.
Thrust is
Sir,
so
total efficiency.
specific thrust is considered instead of total thrust, because then you can calculate for any mass flow rate what is the thrust. So specific thrust is one performance parameter, and what else? There is another important parameter. We have considered two parameters in the previous classes.
Like propulsive efficiency.
Uh,
You are not audible, sir.
Internet connection is poor. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Screen visible? Screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So propulsive efficiency is important parameter, but that is like outside the engine, means not part of the performance of the engine itself. Okay, it is part of the part of the design, but not part of the engine itself. So for engine, efficiency means thermal efficiency can be an important parameter, but the two important parameters that are generally considered are specific thrust specific fuel consumption. Okay, that is actually one type of measure of efficiency, means per unit thrust what is consumption required. If the consumption is less, it means that engine is more efficient. This we have discussed also. You will find that we have discussed specific thrust and thrust specific fuel consumption, right? So it is there in the notes. Okay, so performance parameters are generally mapped with respect to design parameters. So you have to make a distinction. Design parameters are design what the designer starts with. Okay, for example, what is the typical compressor ratio? What can be the turbine inlet temperature based on current manufacturing practices or whatever is the feasibility of the design. Then at what altitude the plane is going to fly for cruise altitude, things like that. And performance or output parameters are like specific thrust, specific fuel, thrust specific fuel consumption, things like that. Okay, so these type of maps are generated for jet engines, turbojet or turbofan engines, based on which we can locate say different performance characteristic. For example, for higher compressor pressure ratio, what will happen if the turbine inlet temperature is high, things like that. So this we will study in details in the next class for different types of the what is the effect of this performance parameter. But my main point of discussion here is that to calculate this type of graphs, okay, to calculate this type of graphs, you need to actually do the calculation for each individual point. For example, if I take one point as RC equal to 5, RC is the compression pressure ratio, okay. RC is equal to 5 is along this line, correct? Everyone is clear about this? Or is there any doubt? So, and say the turbine inlet temperature is 1300 Kelvin. Okay. So, what is the point? Location of the point? Compressor pressure ratio is 5 and turbine inlet temperature is 1300 Kelvin. It is somewhere around here. Okay. Where my mouse arrow is pointed at. So, for this particular turbine inlet temperature and compressor pressure ratio, and assuming an altitude and a flight velocity like this, for a particular altitude and flight velocity, we have to calculate, we have to do the entire starting diffuser, compressor, then combustion chamber, then turbine, and then nozzle. And finally, we have to find the specific thrust and specific fuel thrust specific fuel consumption. Then once you find the specific thrust and thrust specific fuel consumption, actually, although I am locating it here, you do not know up to this point. So once you know what is the specific thrust and thrust specific fuel consumption, you can just join this. That's for the specific thrust and thrust specific fuel consumption. We meet at this calculate for engine. Okay. This type of calculations are known as design point. Means basically you are calculating for a particular design point. So for generating a performance map, you have to repeat this design point calculation hundreds of times. So for example, if I change the turbine inlet temperature from 1300 to 1310, keeping everything else same, we will get another point. Again, you have to calculate what is SFC and what is specific thrust. Again 1320, again another values, another two value you will get 1330. Like this, you can get all the dots along this line, and then you join the dots, you get this line. Then you go for compressor pressure ratio equal to, and again perform all the design point calculation. Again find another line. After you do like this, then you can connect all them and get a map like this. So each point on this map is actually an elaborate. So you can write a program to calculate for each point, or you have, if you do manually, it will take huge amount of time for the calculation, hundreds of hours to generate a map like this. Is everyone clear what is a design point calculation? Design calculation. Okay. So what we are going to do, we are going to do a design point calculation today. And my main objective is not only to show you this design calculation as just as a numerical problem, but actually relate it to the bigger picture. Means I could have just said that we are going to solve a problem today, numerical problem today, and you could have solved it and got the answer. But that is not the idea. The idea is that the solution has a particular purpose. By solving this design point calculation, it is like actually a design problem. If you are in the industry, you will design like this. So for a particular set of input parameters, you will get the specific thrust output, specific thrust and thrust specific fuel consumption, and then get a point on this map. And if you write a program for this, you get a point on this map, and then if you keep on iterating for values of turbine inlet temperature and compressor pressure ratio, you can generate this map. Okay, performance map itself. So what I want to do is I want to relate this problem as a very small part of the performance map calculation. And the performance map actually has a big role to play in the industries. Okay, because based on performance map, we decide what type of aircrafts are required for what, or what type of aircrafts will have what type of parameters. Okay, for example, it is shown here business jet should be in this area, lifting engine we will discuss in the next class. Long range subsonic means passenger aircrafts should be in this area in the next class. So let us now take a look at this performance design point calculation. Okay, so we have a turbojet engine. We want to design a turbojet engine. Okay, and the following design parameters are given. The altitude is given as 10,000. We want to calculate or design this engine for a cruise speed of Mach 0.8. Okay, not for the takeoff or land, for this cruise speed of Mach 0.8. Compressor pressure ratio, based on previous experience, the designer has assumed that the compressor pressure ratio RC equal to 8 should be a suitable value. And the designer has got the input from the materials division that turbine inlet temperature can be maximum 1200 Kelvin. Beyond that, the turbine blade is not going to sustain this temperature. Okay. So maximum turbine inlet temperature can be 1200 Kelvin. Okay. And based on manufacturing practices of this company, the following efficiencies are known. Okay, following isentropic efficiencies are known based on surface finish and frictional losses, things like that, or CFD calculation. Compressor efficiency is 0.87, turbine efficiency is 0.9, diffuser efficiency is 0.93, nozzle efficiency is 0.95, 0.99. What is mechanical efficiency?
Bearing losses. Right.
Bearing losses. So what does it signify? Like where will this come into picture in our calculation?
Sir, we are turbine we has to work more, sir. That there we have to include it.
Correct. So for a certain amount of compressor work input, turbine needs to work more. So there actually it will come into picture. And this is the combustion efficiency, 0.98. It means that 98% of the calorific value of the fuel can be converted to thermal energy. Rest actually cannot be converted. Also it is given, so because it's a realistic problem, we are doing a realistic calculation. Means like in real life in the industry you will do calculation like this. Delta PV is 4%, means in the combustion chamber there is a 4% pressure loss. 4% of the compressor delivery pressure means the inlet pressure of the combustion chamber. So at the inlet if the pressure is 100, at the outlet the pressure is 96. Okay, in any unit. Calorific value of the particular fuel that we are going to use, the aviation fuel, is 43.1 megajoule per kg. The aviation fuel is typically similar to kerosene. Okay, kerosene in nature. It is close to kerosene in nature. And it is we are solving it like a problem. So we have given here that at 10,000 meter altitude, the pressure, ambient pressure is 0.265 bar and ambient temperature is 223.3 Kelvin. For actual design, these things have to be actually obtained from some source in some table at that altitude. What is the ambient pressure and temperature? In our case, it is given. So PA is equal to 0.265 bar at 10 kilometer altitude and ambient temperature is minus 50 degrees centigrade, which is equal to 223.3 Kelvin. Okay. So based on this design condition or based on this design point, this is a single point, remember? That's why we are calling it design point every time. I am not calling it as design or design line or anything. Design point means because it's a single point on the performance map that I have shown here. Okay. So based on this design point, we need to calculate what is the specific thrust and thrust specific fuel consumption for the given engine. Okay. Find the specific thrust and thrust specific fuel consumption for the given engine at this design point. So for this problem, I will go slowly, but so that you understand all the aspects. But from next day onwards, similar type of problems we will go quickly. Okay, because the same methodology is similar, only that details change. Ultimately, the fundamental methodology is similar. The changes occur in the details for different type of engines. So again, I have told numerous times, for solving any problem related to gas turbines or jet engines, the first steps that you should do, if you can correctly draw the TS diagram, you can be almost sure that you are going to solve the problem correctly. There is a good chance that you will be able to solve the problem correctly. If you cannot draw the TS diagram with confidence, then there is a chance that you may not be able to solve the problem correctly. Okay. So let us take a look at this TS diagram. So our inlet condition is denoted by this point A. I hope everyone can see this diagram. I will keep the diagram open here also because we will keep on referring to this diagram during the solution of the problem. Okay, it will be open here, but in this case we will scroll down. Inlet condition is A, which is at atmospheric pressure PA. Atmospheric pressure at that altitude, 0.265 bar. What is the inlet temperature? It is also given to us. Okay, we'll come to the diagram later. Let me just go through the conditions first. Inlet temperature is given as 223.3 Kelvin. So this is our point A. Okay. Now the diffuser efficiency is not 100%. Diffuser efficiency is 93%. It means that the process deviates on the right hand side. There is some increase in entropy. And instead of going to the stagnation point 0A, we reach the point 0.1. Okay. 0.1. So the diffuser exit occurs at the 0.1 condition where the pressure is P01. Okay. And efficiency of the diffuser is defined by creating a hypothetical point 0.1s where the isentropic line intersects this P01 line. Okay. So based on these two temperatures, we can specify the isentropic efficiency as we will do later. So the 0.1 point we do not know. We have to calculate obviously from the calculation of the diffuser. So we don't know the diffuser, this 0.1 point. So from 01 to 02 is the compressor process. 01 to 02s would have been the ideal process, isentropic process, but actual process deviates to the right hand side. So 01 to 02 is the compressor process, and the compressor outlet pressure is P02. Okay. What is given to us is compressor pressure ratio RC, which is 8, which is the ratio of P02 and P01. P02 by P01 is 8. It is given to us. Okay. But we don't know P01, so we don't know what is P02 also. P03 should be lower than P02. By how much? By 4%. Okay, so P0 is P02 minus delta PV. So accordingly, this red line does not follow a constant pressure line, but actually there is a loss in pressure at the exit of the combustion chamber. So this is the maximum temperature T03, which is given to us, 1200 Kelvin. Now there is expansion in the turbine from 03 to 04, and this we need to calculate based on the compressor input work. Okay, the turbine output work should be equal to compressor input work, and 04s is the ideal process, isentropic process. 04 is the exit of the actual process. So based on isentropic efficiency of the turbine, we can actually relate these two. And this 04 point is also the inlet to the nozzle. Nothing is mentioned about the nozzle. We will assume conversion nozzle because nothing is assuming conversion nozzle. Again, the nozzle efficiency is not 100%, 95% efficiency is given. This means that there are some losses. So we go to some 0.5, which is at a higher entropy as compared to 04. Okay. So instead of going to some other point, we instead of following an isentropic path, we follow an increasing entropy path. Okay. Entropy is increasing, and the nozzle exit occurs at condition 5, P5. Okay. Pressure is P5. Now it is not known at this point whether P5 is equal to PA or P5 is equal to critical pressure PC. Okay. So if the nozzle is choked, P5 will be equal to critical pressure PC. If the nozzle is unchoked, P5 will be equal to so once you know this fundament, if you can draw this, then the problem is just proceeding. Any questions at this point? Questions or doubts or any clarification needed? So what we are going to do here, we are going to start from this point A and keep on finding the temperature and pressure at all the points. Okay. Because once we do that, we should be able to. Ultimate aim is to find the temperature and pressure at this point, and then to find the velocity of the nozzle at the nozzle exit. So because those two parameters will give us the thrust, and for calculating the thrust specific fuel consumption, we also need to calculate the fuel air ratio F. So for which we need to do the calculation for the combustion chamber. Just hold on for a minute. So I am going to, excuse me, I am going to take a couple of minutes break here. Okay. And then at one go we will solve the, we will finish the class after solving the problem. Okay. Problem actually has a lot of pages. So we will go step by step and solve the problem. But at this point, I will just Okay, we'll continue. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir.
We'll try to finish this problem, but I'm not feeling so good. Can you hear me? Internet connection problem is present. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There is internet connection problem intermittently. Please let me know whether you can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there may be some lag because of internet issues, but let us continue. So let us start with the diffuser. Okay, so diffuser inlet condition is given, means diffuser inlet condition should be obviously equal to the ambient condition. So ambient condition is known to us, PA equal to 0.265 bar, TA equal to 223.3 Kelvin, and Mach number is 0.8. Okay, and the diffuser efficiency is given as 0.93. These are the parameters that were given here. Okay, as design input. So based on this, we can directly actually calculate the uh, temperature T01, because T01 should be equal to T0A. And what is the relation between T0A and TA?
T0 is equal to A plus
Yes.
V square by 2Cp.
Sorry, T0A is equal to
TA plus V square by 2Cp.
Suppose we don't want to calculate V. So directly in terms of Mach number we want to calculate. Then what is the relation between T0 and TA? Because Mach number is given
1
to us.
plus
Velocity.
gamma 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 ma square.
Correct. So T0A by TA is equal to 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 ms square. If you don't need to calculate the velocity, we can directly calculate like this. So you can get T0A, because gamma, you can assume the gamma to be gamma of air 1.4. At this point it should be air, and TA is already known. So 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 ma is given as 0.8. You can calculate what is T0A, and because T01 is equal to T0, you can find out also what is T01. Okay, but later on we will need the velocity for calculating the thrust, because if you remember, thrust calculation depends on exit velocity minus inlet velocity, exit momentum minus inlet momentum. So because we need to calculate the inlet velocity, we will do it here now itself. Otherwise, anyway, we have to do it later. So that's why I am calculating the velocity. Otherwise, based on Mach number itself, we could have found what is T01. We don't need to calculate the velocity at this point. Velocity calculation I am only doing to actually calculate the thrust, momentum thrust towards the end. Okay. So based on the ambient temperature, the sonic speed at the ambient condition is root over gamma at TA. Gamma is 1.4, R is 287, and T is 223.3. Many students make the mistake here, because R is given as 0.287 kilojoule per kg Kelvin. They just write 0.287 here and get some very small value of velocity. Remember that R is given as 0.287 kilojoule per kg Kelvin, but here you have to write in terms of joule per kg Kelvin. Okay, and in terms of joule per kg Kelvin, this is 287. Similarly, for Cp and Cv also, students make the same mistake. It is given as 1.005, so that's why they write it as 1.005. But for the calculation, you need to write it as 1005 joule per kg Kelvin when doing the calculations. Otherwise, you will be wrong. So based on this, if you put the values, Ca comes out as 299.5362 meter per second. This is the speed of sound at that altitude, okay, around 300 meter per second. Speed of sound is low because temperature is very low at that altitude. Okay, because the temperature is low, speed of sound is also low. So because Mach number is given, ma. So ma into ca will give us the velocity of the aircraft. So velocity of the aircraft is 239.6290 meter per second. Notice that I am going to at least 3-4 digits, because for some calculation, for example, for this type of numbers, even if I go to 3 digits, it is fine. But in some cases, if you go to 3 digits after the decimal point, you will not be accurate. It will lead to a lot of inaccuracy, and your results will be very inaccurate. So you have to be careful. For example, I will show you one value. Okay. So actually you need at least 3-4 significant digits. For example, if you just write this as F is equal to, this is the fuel air ratio, we will calculate this later. If you write this as 0.021, it will be very inaccurate. Okay. Because there is a huge difference between 0.021 and 0.0217. Means it is the difference between 21 and 21.7. Almost 4% difference is there. So you should not write 0.021. You should write as specific as possible, 0.02174. Otherwise 4-5% error will be there, and your entire calculation will be wrong. So this is very important. Every time I say, but still students do that mistake and get less marks in the exam because of that. I am very particular about this calculations for the final exam. For the mid-sem exam, generally I give, I don't deduct many marks for the calculation mistakes. So say if you have a 20 marks problem, if your methodology correct, you may get 19 marks. Only 1 mark may be deducted if there is calculation mistake, or even less than that. Sometimes you can get full marks also. But that is just because you are learning. But for the final exam, I will not be so generous. Okay. So you have to be careful. Design, actually calculations are very important, because if you make a mistake in calculation, your entire design may go wrong. So VA is 239.6290 meter per second. So based on that, we can again calculate what is T01, as somebody was saying already. T01 is equal to T0, which is TA plus V square by 2CP. Okay. So from just the definition of stagnation temperature. 223.3 plus 239.6290 square divided by 2 into 1.005 into 10 to the power 3. This also needs to be correctly written. It is not 1.005, it is 1.005 into 10 to the power 3. Otherwise, again, you will make a mistake here. So we get T01 equal to 2.8682. Okay, this point. Temperature is known now. We need to find the pressure also for this point. Okay. And for finding the pressure, we need to find out T01s, because otherwise we cannot use the isentropic relation. We have already solved one problem like this for the diffuser. So same thing we are going to repeat again. So diffuser efficiency is given as, or by definition, diffuser efficiencies can be written as T01s minus TA by T01 minus TA. Okay. So diffuser efficiency is given to us as 0.93. So you put the value 0.93. TA we have already known, 223.3 Kelvin. T01 we have just now calculated, 251.8682 Kelvin. So all things are known except T01s. So if you put all the values and calculate, you will get T01s equal to 249.8684 Kelvin. Obviously, this value needs to be lower than T01, as can be seen from the diagram. 01s point has to be lower than 01. Okay. Because they are along the same constant pressure line, but 01 is on the right hand side, so it will be higher than 01s. So I can check here that 01s is indeed lower than 01. So after that, just use the isentropic relation. P01 by PA is equal to T01s by TA to the power gamma by gamma minus 1. Okay, for this isentropic process, A to 01s, if there is an isentropic process such like that, hypothetical process, P01 by PA will be equal to T01s by TA to the power gamma by gamma minus 1, where gamma is 1.4. Again, all the things are known here. P01 we don't know, but PA is given to us, 0.265 bar. So based on this, you can calculate what is P01. We find that it is equal to 0.3928 bar. 1 bar is 10 to the power 5 Pascal. Okay, 100 kilopascal. So 0.3928 bar. Okay. So up to this point, is there any question? So this is the calculation for the diffuser. So diffuser calculation should give us, for a design point calculation, it should give us the inlet condition for the compressor. Okay, it should give us the inlet condition for the compressor. So we have found the inlet pressure 0.3928 bar, inlet temperature 251.868 Kelvin. Okay. Next is we will go to the compressor calculation. Okay. So for the compressor, what is given to us? Compressor pressure ratio is given 8. Okay, compressor pressure ratio is 8, and efficiency of the compressor is given as 0.87. So because we have already calculated P01, P02 by P01 is equal to 8 by definition of compressor pressure ratio. So P02 is equal to 8 into P01, which gives us compressor outlet pressure or exit pressure as 3.1421 bar. Okay. So now we want to find out the T02 point, and for finding the T02 point, first we have to find the T02S point based on the pressure ratio. Once you find the T02S point, then you can use the isentropic efficiency of compressor to find the T02 point. Okay. So based on this isentropic process going from 01 to 02S, based on this isentropic process going from 01 to 02S, T02S by T01 is equal to the pressure here by pressure here to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So pressure here is equal to P02 as shown here by the blue line by the pressure P01 to the power 1.4 minus 1 by 1.4. Gamma is 1.4. It is still air up to the inlet of the combustion chamber. So from this calculation, everything else is known. P02 by P01 is already given as 8, and T01 we have calculated previously as 251.8682 Kelvin. Replace these values and you will get T02 as 456.246 Kelvin. Okay. So temperature has increased considerably, even for the isentropic case. To find the actual temperature, you need to use the isentropic efficiency relation, which is for the compressor, it is ideal work input by actual work input, which is equal to Cp T02S minus T01 by Cp T02 minus T01. If you cancel Cp, assuming equal Cp, you get eta C equal to T02S minus T01 by T02 minus T01. Okay. Again, in this equation, everything is known. Eta C is given to us as 0.87. T01 is already calculated, 251.8682 Kelvin. T02S we have just now calculated, 456 Kelvin. Okay, 456.246. Again, I will just mention it. Please go to 3-4 significant digits. Okay. Otherwise, your calculation will be wrong. So T02, based on this, T02 can be calculated as 486.7852 Kelvin. So around 213 degree centigrade. Okay. So which is significantly high temperature, you can imagine, but not nowhere near the combustion turbine inlet temperature. So compressor outlet temperature, these are realistic values. So compressor outlet temperature is typically 500 Kelvin, things like that. So 200-300 degrees centigrade. Whereas the turbine inlet temperature is around 900 degrees centigrade, means 1200 Kelvin or 1300 Kelvin. So huge jump in temperature occurs in the combustion during the combustion process. Okay, so I will just pause here for a moment in this problem to mention something else. So this after this compression process, the air that is present, it is at high pressure. Okay, after the compressor and relatively low temperature. Although the temperature is high as inlet condition, but relatively low as compared to the turbine inlet temperature or the combustion chamber temperature. Okay, so some of this air is taken out at this point and is known as bleed air. Okay, some of this air is taken out for cooling purpose and is bypassed into the turbine blades, which and is used for cooling the turbine blades. This air is taken out at this point, not from this point. Can anyone say why we are not taking? Because this air would have been much better coolant, TA. Because temperature is much lower. Why we are not taking that air for cooling, but taking this air at T02 for cooling?
Pressure should be same.
Pressure would be same. So you need pressure to be same or higher. Otherwise, how will you force the air in the turbine
Yes,
blades,
yes.
right? Turbine region. Turbine, if the pressure in the turbine itself is higher, opposite flow will occur. So the cooling air pressure needs to be higher, equal or higher. So that's why you take the air, bleed air from the after the compression process. Okay, so we'll again come back to the problem, but please note that this is the scenario. Means some small percentage of air can be taken out at this point for cooling the turbine blades. Okay, there are cooling channels in the turbine blades. Later we will see. Turbine blades are hollow. It contains lot of cooling channels, ribs, other things, fins. Lot of design work is going on. It is an active research area. Cooling of turbine blades. Lot of work goes on in this area. Then other applications are also, means other methods are also there for cooling turbine blades, like using coating, ceramic coating, thin ceramic coating, nano coatings like this. So anyway, let us come back to our problem. T02 we have calculated. So our compressor calculation is done. The objective of the compressor calculation was to find the exit point of the compressor. Exit point temperature is 486.7852 Kelvin. Exit point pressure is 3.1421 bar. Okay. Really feeling bad today. Let us continue. Let us finish this problem today itself. So inlet condition to the combustion chamber is not now known. Okay, exit point from the compressor. I will speak less loudly. It is causing me huge trouble. So if you need, you can increase the volume. Okay, I am having difficulty in speaking. So next step is to do the calculation for the combustion chamber. You can hear me still? I have lowered my voice. If you need, you have to
Yes,
increase
yes,
the
sir.
volume. Okay, my throat is giving me huge problem for the last few days. So for the combustion chamber, already this temperature T03 is known, right? Temperature T03 is the turbine inlet temperature, which is given as 1200 Kelvin to us. Okay, T03 is equal to turbine inlet temperature 1200 Kelvin. And the pressure we can easily calculate here. The pressure at the entrance of the combustion chamber is equal to compressor exit pressure P02, which is 3.1421 bar. We have calculated here, you remember. And it is given that there is 4% pressure loss. Okay. So at the exit, the pressure should be 96% of the inlet pressure because of 4% loss. So at the exit, the P03 is equal to 0.96 into P02, which is 3.0164 bar. Okay. So I have drawn the constant pressure line through this 0.03. It is slightly lower than the constant pressure line through the 0.02. Okay. This is the delta PB, or the pressure loss in the combustion chamber. This pressure loss is actually cannot be avoided because you need to reduce the velocity in the combustion chamber to sustain the flame. So there needs to be some turbulence, some kind of mechanism to slow down the velocity. As a result, the side effect is that there are some pressure losses. Okay, we cannot streamline the flow to reduce the pressure loss. In that case, the flow velocity will be too high and flame cannot be sustained. This we will discuss in the later part of the course. So P03 and T03 are known. Okay, so outlet conditions are already known, but we need to find out something else also from the combustion chamber, which is the fuel air ratio. Okay, to find the fuel air ratio, we will have to do the energy balance. So the energy that is released by the fuel is equal to the increase in energy of the combustion products from the air to the combustion products. Okay. So the energy contained in the fuel is equal to calorific value. So we are doing all these calculations per unit mass flow rate of air. Okay, we are doing all the calculation per unit mass flow rate of air. So per unit mass flow rate of air, what is the fuel flow rate? It is equal to F. Okay, because F is defined as mass flow rate of fuel by mass flow rate of air. So for 1 kg of air flow rate, fuel flow rate is equal to F. So F into QCV is the release of energy per second. Okay, F into QCV is the release of not per, means per unit mass flow rate, sorry, not per second, per unit mass flow rate of air. Okay, F into QCV is the release of energy per unit mass flow rate of air. Into combustion efficiency gives us the actual energy that is being captured by the combustion products. Okay, this should be equal to the increase in energy of the combustion products. So what is the energy at the exit of the combustion products? This is equal to the mass flow rate here. Mass flow rate at the exit is equal to mass flow rate of air, which is 1, because we are calculating for unit mass flow rate, plus F, which is the mass flow rate of fuel, 1 plus F, into Cp of gas at this point, into temperature T03. Okay, minus the inlet energy, means sensible energy at the inlet, which is mass flow rate, which is equal to 1 here, into Cp of air into T02. Okay, 1 into Cpa into T02. Okay, so this difference gives us the energy which is equal to the energy that is actually released by the combustion process, considering the inefficiency. Combustion efficiency is generally very high for gas turbines and jet engines, 98-99%. Okay. So again, we will pause here for a moment. I will ask a couple of questions. So why is the combustion efficiency very high for jet engines as compared to IC engines?
We have very high
have,
fuel air ratio. Oh, sorry, very high air fuel ratio.
yes, we have very high air fuel ratio, correct. So chances of incomplete combustion are very less because much more amount of air is present. Okay, as compared to IC engine, which operates near stoichiometric ratios. So there are localized spots where the fuel air ratio is actually rich, means more than stoichiometric ratio. So at those points, you get at those local points where the fuel amount is higher, you get incomplete combustion, which generates soot particles and other things. Here the chances are very low because of very high air fuel ratio. What is the reason for having this very high air fuel ratio? Is it for having complete combustion, or is there any other reason?
Like there's a limitation for turbine inlet temperature. So
Correct. Correct. So I am just revising these things because we have talked about it. Good answer. So it is not actually to ensure complete combustion, but it is to reduce the temperature of the combustion products. If you make it more and more dilute, the temperature of the combustion products will be reduced, so that the turbine inlet temperature, means the temperature here is within the tolerance of the turbine inlet temperature. Otherwise, if you use a very high fuel air ratio, means near stoichiometric ratio, you can reach temperatures of 2200, 2300 Kelvin, 2500 Kelvin as stoichiometric conditions. It can be easily calculated, right? What is the adiabatic flame temperature, which is more than 2000 degrees centigrade. Okay, for this type of hydrocarbons. So to reduce the temperature, you make it dilute with air, so that more energy goes towards increasing the temperature of the air, as sensible heating. Final question here. There is some assumption in this. Okay. There is one assumption, one energy value which we are ignoring. What is the energy value that we are ignoring in this energy balance? Some small energy value we are ignoring in this energy balance. What is it? Can anyone say?
like the fluid has some velocity, so maybe that kinetic energy.
That actually is taken care of. It is somewhat true, but because you are considering the total enthalpies, the kinetic energy is actually incorporated within these total enthalpy values. Means instead of static enthalpy, you are taking total enthalpy. So it already has the kinetic energy inbuilt. Okay, if it is small velocity also, that is also part of this energy T03, CP T03. It is not the kinetic energy. one sensible heat term is missing. Okay, which sensible heat term is missing here? This is the sensible heat of the exhaust gases. Okay, this is the sensible heat of the
Due to
inlet air.
pressure loss.
Nothing will be there due to pressure loss. Pressure loss is pressure loss, but how will it affect the energy balance? It's an adiabatic process. There is no heat loss. Even if there is pressure loss, like in the diffuser also pressure loss was there, but there is no heat loss.
Okay.
What about the energy, sensible energy of the fuel? Have we considered it? We have only considered the chemical energy of the fuel. But the fuel has a small mass flow rate, right? F. And it also has a certain temperature and a certain enthalpy value in liquid form. That will be a very small energy, but still it has some sensible energy, right? That is that we have ignored. We have not discussed this previously also, but generally that is ignored because that term is so small that typically that is ignored. Okay, sensible energy of the fuel, liquid fuel, means F into some Cp of fuel into temperature of the fuel. That part is ignored. Okay, is it clear to everyone? We are going to ignore it for the entire class, means entire course, and in all the books also you will see that that is ignored. Even this term is also ignored for Ganeshan and other books. But if you go through L. Sayyid Ahmed, you will see that this 1 plus F term is taken. For the Indian author books, you will see that they just write it as CPG T03 minus CPA T02. Even some people just write it as CPG T03 minus T02, which is very approximate. So we will follow the more accurate result. Only we will ignore the sensible heat of the liquid fuel, okay, because that is very small amount. So from this calculation, everything else is known apart from F. CPG is what I have told in the previous, like many classes back, we have discussed that for the combustion products, we will take CPG as 1.148 kilojoule per kg Kelvin, and CPA we should take as 1.005 kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Okay, T03 is 1200 Kelvin, T02 we have calculated as 486.785 Kelvin. Eta B is given to us as 0.98. Calorific value is also given 43,100 kilojoule per kg. Okay, and again CPG T03 all are known. If you replace all this, you will get fuel air ratio as 0.02174. Again, a very realistic value. You can see that the air fuel ratio is very high, more than 40. Okay, between 40 and 50. What will be the typical stoichiometric value for hydrocarbons of air fuel ratio? Any idea? For typical hydrocarbons, what is the range of stoichiometric air fuel ratio?
Like 12 is to 1 or something.
Mainly there is a huge range of fuel, so it will be somewhere between 10 and 20. Okay, somewhere say 15, 16, 12, 14, somewhere between 10 and 20. Unless it is pure hydrogen. For pure hydrogen, it can go to very high value. Otherwise, it is between 10 and 20. Some cases, pure hydrogen has been used experimentally, like for scramjet engines. But obviously, for normal cases, it won't be used because it is so dangerous using pure hydrogen because of its high combustibility. So, typical hydrocarbons will have between 10 and 20, but here you can see that we are getting around more than 40, around 40 to 50 air fuel ratio. So, fuel air ratio is 0.02174. For these values, particularly for these cases, you have to go to at least 4 significant digits. If you just stop at 0.02, you can imagine so much error will be there, right? 0.02 is entirely different point from 0.02174. Entirely different values are there. So we have done the calculation for the combustion process. Again, I will lower my voice so I get excited and increase my volume. So we will do the calculation for the turbine now. So for the turbine, we need to calculate what is P04 and T04. Okay. Inlet conditions of the turbine are known. P03 we have just now calculated as 3.0164 bar. T03 is given to us as 1200 Kelvin. So for the turbine, we will assume we will have to calculate the T04 by equating the work of the compressor to the turbine. So work input per unit mass flow rate to the compressor is Cp of air into mass flow rate, which is 1 into Cp of air into T02 minus T01. Work input to the compressor. Work output from the turbine per unit mass flow rate is 1 plus F, because mass flow rate for 1 mass flow rate of air, the mass flow rate through the turbine is 1 plus F because of addition of fuel. Okay, so the combustion products have a mass flow rate of 1 plus F. 1 plus F into Cp of gas into T03 minus T04. This is the work per unit mass flow rate of air through the turbine. This into mechanical efficiency gives us the amount of work that is actually transmitted to the compressor, which should be equal to Cpa T02 minus T01. So in this equation, if you put all the values, eta m is equal to 0.99. Mechanical efficiency typically is very high because you are just the compressor and turbines are mounted on the same shaft. Only bearing losses and windage losses are there. Then 1 plus F is 1.02174. We have already calculated. Cp of gas is known. T03 we know. T04 is unknown. On the right hand side, all the terms are known. Okay. T02 minus T01 is known. So from this you get T04, which is 996.68799 Kelvin. Okay. So this point temperature is 996.68799. This temperature is still quite high. You can see even as compared to 02. Okay. Although I have drawn it as if 02 is higher than 04, but our actual calculation gives T02 to be much lower than T04. Okay. It is only 400 something here, while it is 996 here. So diagram is not accurate in this. This is just a schematic diagram. P03 is given as 3.0164 bar. So now for finding P04, we need to find first T04S. Then we will use the isentropic relation like you have done for industrial gas turbines. So efficiency of the turbine is given as T03 minus T04 by T03 minus T04S. And the value of efficiency is, I think it is given as 0.9. 0.9. So efficiency is given as 0.9. Okay. Let us keep it open. 0.9 is equal to 1200 minus, oh here it was there only, 996.68799 by 1200 minus T04S. So T04S is equal to 974.0978. Again, we should note that T04S should be lower than T04. Otherwise, result is incorrect. So we see that T04S is indeed lower than T04. T04 was 996. T04S is 974. Okay. So now we can calculate the pressure. Pressure ratio P03 by P04 is given by, for this isentropic process from 03 to 04S, it is given by T03 by T04S to the power gamma G by gamma G minus 1. In this case, we will use the combustion product specific heat ratio, gamma G, which is 1.333, not 1.4, because in this case, the chemical composition has changed. Okay. So T03 by T04S is 1200 by 974.0978 to the power 1.33 by 0.333. P03 we already know 3.0164. This gives us P04. Okay. P04 is equal to 1.30889 bar. So what we have done up to this point? We have come to the inlet condition of the nozzle. Inlet temperature and pressure of the nozzle both are known now after all this calculation. And the other thing that is known is the fuel air ratio. What is the inlet temperature? 996.68799 Kelvin. Inlet pressure 1.30889 bar. Okay. Next step is to actually find the critical pressure ratio, critical pressure. How to find the critical pressure? We will. So this problem right now we have done today itself in the beginning 15-20 minutes. So same thing again we are going to repeat. Okay, so that it condenses in our mind what is the actual process for the nozzle. So we will assume that we have a convergent nozzle, already I have assumed, and we will assume that the nozzle is choked. If it is choked, it means that P5 is equal to P critical. Okay, so for choked condition we will do the calculation, and later we will see whether the actually we get P5 higher than PA or P5 lower than PA. If it is higher than PA, our initial assumption of choked nozzle is correct. If our calculated P5 is lower than PA, then the initial assumption is incorrect. We have to redo the calculation, assuming P5 equal to PA. In the next class, probably next to next class, when we solve for the turbofan engine, there will be a condition where for one of the nozzles, we will solve for unchoked case. Okay, I will see whether I can define a problem like that. So now P04 and T04 are known. Assuming nozzle to be choked, T05 should be equal to T04. We have already discussed this today also, that for an adiabatic nozzle, stagnation temperature remains constant by first law of thermodynamics. So T05 by T5 is equal to gamma g plus 1 by 2. Okay, this also we have discussed. So this is equal to 1.333 plus 1 by 2, which is 1.1665. Because T05 is already known, T5 you can calculate this point as 854.4261 Kelvin. Okay, so T5 is known. Next step is to calculate P5. Okay, remember that I could have directly used the expression for calculating the pressure. We have derived in the previous class one expression like this. If you put these values, all these values in the expression, you can directly calculate P5. Okay, so P04 I can put, we already calculated P04. Eta n is given to us, nozzle efficiency as 0.95. Gamma g is known to us. So by putting this, we can directly calculate P5. Specifically, I am solving this step by step so that you understand that memorizing is not necessary for solving this problem. I don't encourage that you memorize this equation and then just try to solve it in one step. Okay, you should go step by step based on your fundamental understanding so that you can get to the same result. Okay. You will get the same result whether you use this expression or you just proceed step by step. Okay. So always try to go step by step, don't try to memorize things. So T5 is equal to 854.4261. So based on the efficiency of the nozzle, how is the efficiency defined? It is defined as T04 minus T5 by T04 minus T5s. Okay, smaller value by greater value always. So which is given as 0.95 in our case. So here T04 is already known, T5 is known. You replace all these values, you will get T5s, which is 846.9386. Again, let us check. T5s should be lower than T5. So 846 is lower than 854. From this diagram, it is clear that T5s should be lower than T5. Okay, so it means that we are getting physically correct result. Okay, there may be calculation error, at least it is physically correct. If we get T5s higher than T5, then it means something is wrong. Then for this isentropic process, hypothetical isentropic process going from 04 to 5s, you can use the isentropic relation P5 by P04, P5 by P04 is equal to T5s by T04 to the power gamma g by gamma g minus 1. Okay, gamma g is 1.333. T5s we have calculated, T04 is already known to us previously. P04 also we know from the turbine outlet condition. Only thing unknown is P5. So based on this calculation, you get P5 as 0.6821 bar. Okay. So at this point, calculation problem is not finished yet. Okay. So now we have to compare this P5 with the ambient condition because we don't know whether P5 is equal to PA or critical pressure. This is the critical pressure we have calculated, 0.6821 bar. But ambient pressure is given as 0.265 bar. Because P5 is greater than ambient pressure, it means that nozzle is choked. Our initial assumption is correct. and P5 should be equal to 0.6821 bar. Okay. If we had calculated P5 to be less, like 0.02 or 0.2, then we would have taken it to be equal to ambient pressure. So nozzle outlet condition is also known. Now remember, we should not forget the initial objective of this entire design point calculation, right? What is the initial objective? Find a specific thrust and thrust specific fuel consumption. So we have done this entire calculation, because without doing the entire calculation you cannot find the specific thrust, because you need the exit velocity, and to calculate the exit velocity you have to undergo the entire calculation. Otherwise you cannot find the exit velocity from the nozzle. Okay, so the entire purpose of solving this problem is to find the exit velocity and the exit pressure. Why the exit pressure is needed?
To calculate the pressure thrust.
To calculate the pressure thrust, correct, because P5 is greater than PA, there will be pressure thrust, and we will see whether it is substantial or not in this case. But you can see P5 is much greater than PA. PA was equal to 0.265 bar. P5 is 0.6821 bar. Okay. So because the nozzle is choked, velocity at the exit of the nozzle is equal to speed of sound C5, which is gamma g r T5, root of that. Gamma g is 1.333. Remember again to take R correctly, 287, not 0.287. Okay, R is 287 joule per kg Kelvin, and T5 is, we have calculated T5 somewhere, 854.4261. Okay, 854.4261. So this gives us V5, which is equal to C5 equal to 571.733 meter per second. Again, note here that at this point, at the exit of the nozzle, what is the speed of sound? It is 571.733 meter per second. This is much higher than the speed of sound in the ambient condition, 299.5362. So even if the aircraft was supersonic, so when will be the aircraft supersonic? What is the speed of sound here? 300, almost 300 meter per second. Okay. Our problem had given us a inlet condition of 0.8 Mach number, but even if the Mach number was 1.2, okay, supersonic aircraft 1.2, the velocity of the aircraft would have been 1.2 into 300, so 360 meter per second. So it would have been still lower than the exit velocity from the nozzle, so which would have been feasible. So that's why even if the nozzle is exit velocity is at the speed of sound, still it is much higher than the supersonic velocity of the aircraft at ambient condition. That's why it is possible to have convergent nozzle at choked condition for supersonic aircraft also. So while solving the problem, I am mentioning lot of small things. Okay, this is so that you can develop the ability to connect the extra things to the actual calculation instead of just mechanically solving the problem. So that you should evolve your thought process like that, so that means this type of extra things also come to your mind. Why this is happening? What is the case? Let us check whether we are getting correct temperature, correct velocity. Okay, let us see. So all these are realistic values. Okay, instead of some arbitrary value. So there is no point in solving the problem mechanically. Okay, we have to understand what is happening. So V5 we have calculated. Okay, what is the equation for thrust? Does anyone remember? In which it is given in 13 or 14? Let us see. Thrust equation, this equation. F is equal to m dot I. M dot I is nothing but m dot A, means the mass flow rate of air at the inlet. 1 plus F into V minus Vi. This is the momentum thrust, and the pressure thrust is P minus PA by A. So per unit mass flow rate, what will be the thrust? Means specific thrust. Specific thrust you have to divide by m dot I. So it will be 1 plus F V minus Vi plus P minus PA into A by m dot A. Okay. So VE we have already calculated. V is equal to V5. Vi is the inlet velocity Va, which we have previously calculated at the beginning of the problem. Okay, 239.6290. So those two parts are already calculated. Then F is also calculated. So momentum thrust, everything is known for us except mass flow rate, but we are solving it for unit mass flow rate to get specific thrust, so it does not matter. For calculating this pressure thrust, we need to calculate the area. Okay, PE, we already know P is equal to P5, exit pressure. PA is the ambient pressure, that also is known to us. Only the exit area is unknown. Okay, so you have to calculate the exit area. To calculate the exit area, we will use the relation of mass flow rate is equal to rho AV, rho in density into area into velocity. Okay, so first we need to calculate the density at the exit of the nozzle. So density at the exit of the nozzle can be calculated based on the pressure and temperature. So it is equal to P by RT at 0.5. So rho 5 is equal to P5 by RT5. So P5 is 0.6821 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal. Okay, now I am writing in terms of Pascal, SI unit. We have calculated it to be 0.6821 bar, but you need to write it in proper units. R is 287 joule per kg Kelvin, and T5 is 854.4261. Somewhere we have calculated. Okay, 854.4261 Kelvin. So you get the density to be 0.27816 kg per meter cube. Very low density because of the high temperature. How do you know this is very low density compared to what this is very low? What is the typical density of air at normal atmospheric condition?
1.2.
Around
1.2.
1. Around 1. Okay. Not 1.2, around 1 at normal atmospheric conditions. So this is much lower. Okay. Because of the high temperature. And also pressure is also low than the normal ambient pressure. So both of them contribute. So density we have calculated. So what is the mass flow rate through the nozzle? Is it equal to m dot A? It is not equal to m dot A. It is equal to m dot A plus m dot F.
Plus 4.
Yes. So m dot A into 1 plus F. Okay, fuel part is also there. This is equal to rho 5 A5 into V5. Density at 5, area of the exit 5, and V5. Okay. So A5 can be written as 1 plus F, which is 1.02174. 1 plus F is 1.02174 into m dot A. M dot A is unknown. So into m dot A. Or if you do the calculation for 1 kg of air, you can write here equal to 1. Okay, m dot A. Divided by 0.27816. What is 0.27816? This rho 5. Divided by V5, 571.733. Okay. So this gives us a area which is equal to 0.0064247 into 1 meter square if the mass flow rate is 1. Otherwise, in terms of mass flow rate, this value into the mass flow rate. Okay, this is the area of the. So if you multiply this value by the mass flow rate, you get the actual area. Otherwise, per unit mass flow rate, you can just write it as 0.0064247 meter square per kg per second per unit mass flow rate. Again, remember, see this value. If you again write this as 0.006, it will result in a huge error, 7-8% error. Okay, so you have to go to a lot of significant digits. You cannot just assume that, oh, I have written 3 points after the decimal, 0.006. It should be correct. It is not correct because these zeros are not significant. Okay, so you have to go at least 0.643 or 6425, something like that. Okay, I have gone to even more accuracy, 0.006427. So now specific thrust is equal to F by m dot A. So F is equal to m dot A 1 plus F V5 minus VA. This is the momentum thrust. Pressure thrust is P5 minus PA by into A5 divided by m dot A. Okay. So you just replace the values. 1 plus F is equal to 1.02174. V5 we have calculated as 571.733. VA we have calculated previously as 239.6290. Okay. And for the pressure thrust, we have calculated the pressure P5 as 0.6281 bar, which is equal to 0.6285 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal. Ambient pressure is 0.265 bar, which is 0.265 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal, and area we have calculated as 0.0064247 into m dot A. Okay. So this divided by m dot A gives us the specific thrust. You cancel m dot A from all these sides. You are left with 344.5335 plus 267.974. I have deliberately kept these two values separate so that I can show you what is the contribution of the individual components. So this is due to the momentum thrust out of the specific thrust. Because of the change in momentum, this is the amount of thrust, and this is because of the pressure. So you can see that for this case, the pressure thrust is not negligible. It is a huge amount. If you ignore that, you will have 40% error. Okay. So we cannot ignore the pressure thrust. It's actually a huge amount for this. Why this is a huge amount? Because the pressure difference was huge at the exit. So finally you get the specific thrust I equal to 612.5077. Be careful about the unit. What is the unit? What is the unit of thrust? Newton, right? Because thrust is a force. And specific thrust is thrust per unit mass flow rate. What is the unit of mass flow rate? Kg per second. So the unit of specific thrust is Newton per kg per second, or Newton second per kg. Okay. Newton second per kg. This you should be very careful. You should not write Newton. It is Newton second per kg. So the last point in the design calculation is to find the thrust specific fuel consumption. Okay. Specific thrust we have found, thrust specific fuel consumption. So thrust specific fuel consumption by definition is the mass flow rate of fuel per unit thrust. Mass flow rate of fuel is m dot f. So divided by thrust will give us thrust specific fuel consumption. Thrust is f. Okay. So m dot f by f. M dot f can be written as f into m dot a divided by f. So f by m dot a. This we have already calculated. F by m dot a. This is the specific thrust I. Okay. So is nothing but f by I. Okay. So f we have calculated. F is equal to 0.02174. What is the unit of f?
kg per second.
No.
Unitless,
Why?
unitless.
It is unitless. Huh? Kg per second per kg per second.
Yes, yes.
So it is 0.02174 unitless. Okay. And divided by I. I is 612.5077. So what is the unit of this TSFC? It should be kg per Newton
kg
second.
per Newton.
Correct? Or you can write as kg per second per Newton. If you miss, because directly from here you can understand that mass flow rate is kg per second divided by thrust is Newton. So kg per second per Newton. Okay, same thing. Kg per Newton second or kg per second per Newton. So this is equal to 3.54934 into 10 to the power minus 5 kg per second per Newton. This is generally expressed not in terms of per second but per hour. Okay. Purposes. How much fuel consumption will be there for an engine per unit thrust in 1 hour. So if your aircraft flies for 1 hour, what will be the fuel consumption? So to find it per hour, you need to multiply it by 3600. So if you multiply it by 3600, you get 0.1278 kg per hour per Newton or kg per Newton hour. Okay. What is the significance of this? If you have a 10,000 Newton. Okay. You have an engine which generates a thrust of 10,000 Newton. Large engine is there, generates a thrust of 10,000 Newton. So if it flies for 1 hour, you know that per Newton the fuel required is 1.1278 kg. Okay, per hour. So for 10,000 Newton thrust, you need
1278 kg
1.1278
per
into
hour.
10,000. 1278 kg per hour or
Kg per hour.
1.278 ton per hour. Okay. So these are some typical values. Okay, which are needed. So this is a design point calculation. Any questions about this?
Sir, like if I use a convergent divergent nozzle, so the pressure thrust will go to 0, right?
Correct, correct.
So will that I increase or decrease in that case?
It should increase because you are actually utilizing that pressure in a better way. Okay, pressure thrust is an inefficient way of generating the thrust. Better way is to actually accelerate the flow through a nozzle, and if you use a convergent divergent nozzle, the velocity will be much higher. Okay, so the actual thrust or actual specific thrust will be higher in that case. This velocity V after the expansion in the convergent divergent nozzle, this V5 will be very high. Okay, so the extra contribution for the momentum thrust will be larger than the like removal of the pressure thrust. Pressure thrust is not a good way of generating thrust. It is like a side effect, positive side effect. Okay, because you cannot use a convergent divergent nozzle, you are using a convergent nozzle. As a positive side effect, you are recovering some of the thrust as pressure thrust. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Think of it in this way. Okay, think of it in this way, just for the sake of understanding. If the nozzle is choked, what was the pressure at point P04? What is the pressure P04? Pressure P04 is 1.30889 bar. Okay. Let me open MATLAB. This will be better. Okay. So, what are the values? Let me use a calculator for this. MATLAB, I will show some plots. Where has it gone? Okay, so let me use a calculator. So P04 is 1.30889 and P5 is equal to 0.6821. So this is a pressure ratio of 1.918, okay, for the choked condition. Pressure ratio depends on the efficiency of the nozzle and the gamma value. Okay, so 1.918. Okay, so for a decrease of pressure by a ratio of less than 2, you are generating this velocity. Okay, so if the pressure is now reduced from 0.6821 to the ambient pressure, what was the ambient pressure? 265. This pressure ratio is huge, right? 2.574, even larger than this previous pressure ratio. The actual pressure ratio is actually this into 1.91. So instead of having a pressure ratio of 1.91, you have a pressure ratio of 5. So you can imagine what should be the increase in velocity. It will be very large at the exit of the divergent nozzle, convergent divergent nozzle. So the momentum thrust will be very large, but it has lot of design problems, like I was saying previously. That's why it is not used. Okay, you cannot control the mass flow rate. It is used for rockets, where you can control the mass flow rate by using mass flow rate is very controlled because both the oxidizer and the fuel is actually pumped from within the rocket container tanks. Okay, so for rockets it is used, and you need also, because you need to generate huge thrust in the rocket. So pressure thrust is nowhere sufficient. You need to create very large exhaust velocity. Pressure thrust will not be able to propel your rocket to very high speeds. You need your exhaust gas velocity to be higher than the rocket speed, and rocket speed itself is around Mach 30, means 10 kilometer per hour, 7-8 kilometer, sorry, 10 kilometer per second. So which is around Mach 30. So you can assume that what kind of exhaust gas velocity is required. Very hypersonic. So any questions on this design point calculation?
No,
So
sir.
what I will show you this. We will discuss these graphs in the next class. But I want to show you how these graphs are generated. So we will just start today, and we will discuss actually in the next class. So why I want to show it today, start it today, because we have done this entire calculation. This is fresh in your memory. This problem that we have solved right now. Okay. So you know all the values that have been calculated here. So same thing we can do by using a MATLAB program or any program. Okay. So if you notice here, I will not go through the details here, but I have taken the same parameters. Compressor pressure ratio is 8, turbine inlet temperature T03 is 1200 Kelvin, compressor efficiency 0.87, turbine efficiency 0.9, all the efficiencies are there. Delta PV 0.04, means 0.04% loss is there. Sorry, 4% loss is there. Calorific value is 4310000. Gamma of air is 1.4, gamma of gas is 1.333, CP of air is 1005, CP of gas is 1148. So all values are there. Mach number 0.8, ambient temperature 223.3, ambient pressure 0.265 into 10 to the power 5, and R is equal to 287. Okay, in terms of SI units. So if I just go through the same steps what we have done today, you can calculate the values of specific fuel consumption and specific thrust for that point. Okay, for this design point, for RC equal to 8 and T03 equal to 1200 Kelvin. Okay, so instead of manually doing it, we can write a program, go through the steps and run that program to calculate all the values. So I have run the program and I have got these values. Okay, thrust specific fuel consumption, I have got these values as specific thrust as 612.5153, which compares to our hand calculated value as hand calculated. Where is our hand calculated value? So this was 612.5077, very near. So some small round off is there maybe. And thrust specific fuel consumption is 3.549. And per hour it is 0.1278. It's 0.1278 only. Okay. So same thing I can write. So I have written this program for doing this design point calculation. The aim is that now we can repeat this program again and again by taking different values of RC, so that we can generate plots like this, varying RC from 5 to 25. I can find out all the values for, say, T. This is T equal to 1200, right? We have done a calculation for RC equal to 0.8. Sorry, 8. So look at this graph. 1200 is the turbine inlet temperature. RC is equal to 8. So where is this point? Located somewhere around here. You can notice my mouse cursor. So this is near about 600, right? This specific thrust is near about 600. Okay, it looks slightly lower than 600 because this calculation may be slightly different. They might have ignored some of the things, but it is near about 600, not 700 or 800 or some other value. Okay, and we have also seen that our calculation also gives us very near to 600, this specific thrust. Okay, what was the specific thrust for our case? 612. Okay, Newton per kg per second. So if I repeat it for different value of R, going from 5 to 25, I should be able to get a curve like this. Okay. Similarly, if I repeat it for T03 equal to 1400, I will be able to get a curve like this. Similarly, again, if I keep on doing it, then we will be able to generate a map like this. So that is what I want to show in the next class, like at least some part of it. So that this map I have taken from the book of Cohen-Rogers. But instead of just blankly looking at the graph and trying to memorize it, you can actually relate how these graphs are generated. That's why I have written this MATLAB program, so that you know that these are not difficult to generate. It follows a certain logic, and we can generate easily this type of graphs. Easily means it takes time, but the logic is simple. You have to go step by step for generating this graph. This is not some random graph based on some experimental result that we are getting. This can be easily calculated. Okay. Also, this is for a particular Mach number. Oh, that is what was missing for us. Mach number is 0.8. That also we have taken correctly, but altitude we have calculated 10,000 meter. So for our case, the ambient pressure and temperature was slightly different. That's why we are getting a slightly different value of thrust. Okay. So we'll discuss all these things in the next class. If you are curious, I will anyway send you these programs. You can run them. You can try to compare the results also on the right hand side to check this. Okay. To check whether your calculation is correct. So if I want, I can compare any result. For example, P5, 0.6011. So let us see where is P5 here. P5, this P5 is, no, this is different P5. Okay. Where is our P5? 0.6821 bar. Okay. So 0.68212 bar. So which is equal to 6.8212 10 to the power 4. So this is correct. Similarly, anything you can check. V5 is equal to velocity 5. V5 is 571.7331 meter per second. So all the intermediate points are also there and should be calculated correctly. We should be able to find all the intermediate points also correctly. Okay. For example, inlet sonic velocity 299.5362. Okay, CA. So CA is 299.5362. Okay. Similarly, say any of the pressures, then any of the temperature, everything is there. T01s, T02s, T04s, for example, if I want to check 974.0982. So here also T04s 974.09 here. Okay. And here it is 974.098. Here it is 0.0978. Very near value. Some round of error is there. So we will continue this discussion in the next class and move on to the turbofan engine. Okay, we have almost discussed fully about the turbojet engine, different aspects. We'll move on to the next topic, but before that, we will go through this performance parameter of turbojet engine in the next class, which is tomorrow. Any questions? I will take the attendance. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, this type of problems can be expected in the exam. Means this longer type of design problems. Obviously, it will have a lot of marks, 20, 30 marks will be there at least. But I like to give design problems, open-ended design problems. If you see previous question papers, you will see 30 marks problems, 35 marks problems are also there. Step by step, you have to proceed. Where is my attendance sheet? Trying to find my attendance sheet. No questions. Everybody has understood or nobody has understood? Typically in classes, people ask a lot of questions. In this online mode, people are not asking too much questions. It is difficult to take like this. Means like I am teaching to black box. You should ask more questions. I am happy to answer. Any questions related to this area? If I don't know the answer, I will try to find the answer in the next class. Okay, so today's date is 11/11/20. Bharatram is present. Then Sachin is not present. Sanjay is present. Abhishek Anand is present. Vikas is not present. Manthan is present. Ajay Kumar Meena. Ajay is present. Gaurav Kandalwal is present. Jishnu Shankar is present. Suresh Kumar is present. Ujjwal is present. Ujjwal was present, right? I heard the voice. Yes, you were present. Shubham Kumar, present. Then Pushpendu, present. Amgod Shyam Kumar, present. Prabhat Kumar Mishra, present. Kishan Sai, present. Dhruv is not there, obviously. Venkata Rajendra, present. Then Atul, present. Ramcharan, present. Suman is present. Ashwini Kumar is present. Gaurav Srivastav is present. Yes, present. Thank you. Gulshan Kumar is present. Pujari, where are you? M. Pujari, present. Nilesh Kumar, present. Chintu, present. Sudipto Das, present. Lokesh, present. Ankit is absent, right? Ankit has left. Shivangsh Das, present. Okay. Thank you. Go through the material.
Sir.
It is uploaded. Yes. Tell
Sir.
me.
Sir, in yesterday's CMFT class, sir, I was present, but due to network concern, disconnected. Sir.
What is your name?
Sir, this is Prabhat Kumar Mishra. Sir.
I have already replied, right? So why are you asking repeatedly? I have
Sir, I
said
did.
that I will give attendance.
Okay, sir.
So you are 3 times you have mailed. So once you mail, it is already noted.
Okay, sir.
Don't have to repeatedly email. Thank you.